for Julie before I started this live, and I can't see nothing now. Well, I can see, but it's dark. But good morning, everybody. Due to some current events, we'll see if it's a fake out here or if it's something more. One, I don't like the way this looks, but we're almost through the 2 hourly, and because we pulled up so far, maybe we can close this in a fashion that, some good happens because it's closing good. Um, as of right now. Got some volume to come in. So when everybody asks me, Tom, what do we look for a potential pattern reversal? Where'd my phone go? Oh, crap. I forgot my phone. I definitely need that. Hold on. Sorry about that. But what do we need for a pattern reversal? We want to see volume. So let's look across the market. Things are not up crazy right now. But you're definitely starting to get a little bit of a push here. And look at that volume. That is a volume predictor. Right now, volume predicts price. And right now, the volume's saying we've got a chance at a short-term reversal. Pay attention. The market is calling us right now. It's saying pay attention. Even DC went way down, came back up. Look, let's see what Algo's doing in the interim. It's telling us to be careful, obviously, and try to see if this is a trap candle, which is why you pay attention. But it's telling us we have to be on notice because there is some potential green volume coming in. And for the first time, and I feel like forever, we're going to find out together if this is actually volume that's been set up here because of what happened with. And isn't it convenient? We're so oversold, and think about what happened today. They said that Trump can't do the tariff stuff, whether that's an artificial manipulation of politics just to circumvent what was coming with a further. You can play the markets out. So the charts were predicting some kind of positive news. If we were going to have the retest back up into the aforementioned over the top 5-way CME gap we talked about yesterday, if we could hold, if you remember, the $1.38, and now we firm. That's a beautiful hold there. Right now, I can't even describe it. Like, if we want some positivity this morning, you should get a little positive right now. We're oversold. Not saying this is going to break the voodoo we've been in, but at least well, we'll see. That's where we got to get through now. It's about, we're over the top. So in my opinion, you've got that $1. It's going to be the over the top play. So now you've got to get through this area, basically. Can we get through that area? That's the area of resistance. We're going to have to eventually get out over the top, and then we'll be able to play up higher. But that's the question. Can we get over this? We might be able to play now in any event back up to that $1.52 because I am seeing a volume spike. You want to see volume predict the price. So let's see if this can continue. Let's see if they're just punching us in the face this morning and it's just a bunch of nonsense, or if this little bit of a surge of volume is starting to predict a little bit of price movement. Good morning. 10:59 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Friday, February 20th, 2026. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. What do you guys think? Do we think this volume spike is something of note? Do we think this is a trap? We've got a little bit of front movement by IOTA. Do you think this is of substance? I think there's some substance here this morning. We've been waiting for it all week. There could be some substance here. What do you think? I would love to know. Good morning, everybody. Great morning to all of you. Do you think we're going to push that $1.70 to $1.77 gap? Would love to know. Would love to know what this audience is thinking deep down. Do you see an opportunity here? Do you think this is a trap at 11 a.m.? Otherwise, I'll just continue talking. Had an interesting occurrence with, well, let's just keep it straightforward with the charts. Joseph, thank you so much for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge, along with Carl and 1970 Legend as well, and Mark Caston. And also gifting a sub, Mr. Euler, and DM got that gifted sub. Welcome into Tom's Army for your first month with the emoji badge of me being abducted by aliens. What an honor. Morning, everyone. Good morning, David. Mark Caston says positive. Good morning, all. Good morning, Tom. Good morning, Mr. Smith. And thanks for being in Tom's Army 3+ months with the XP Meteor. Mrs. Stott, thanks for being in Tom's Army 6+ months with the XP Predictor. Two Ravens, Mo, Johnny, and Juan, thanks for being in Tom's Army for 1 and 2 years with the I Told You So badges, and then the XRP 589 Moon badges with Mo and 2 Ravens. Dan, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army 6+ months with the XP Predictor. Blessings to you all as well, as we give all the glory to God. Amen. Luke, good morning. Corey Williams, welcome in. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We got a positive catalyst too, if you want to look at it in that sense. But the charts were speaking of a push up here. We have upward liquidity. We're massively oversold. And if I'm being honest, look what started to happen again. Look at the crypto fear and greed index as of last night. I mean, that is freaking phenomenal. We were at 5. We moved all the way up to almost 20, back down to 7. You know, so if you're talking about a lot of fear, which I don't trust this market, but I still know there's a huge liquidity gap up there at $1.77, $1.70. Oh, we all know there's backup plans. And I think just as quickly, that's why you're watching this. Is this going to be just a momentary push this morning? Or do we have some substance here? We can start taking out that higher liquidity. That is what my main focus is this morning. And you might see some of and you're going to get a real big understanding of are they setting up the gold and silver markets? And there's another thing. They're talking about the smoking gun as well now, possibly raising rates. That's actually bearish for gold and silver. And that would be interesting for crypto. And it's only bearish in the short term for gold and silver. It's not overall bearish. It's just you're looking for rate cuts, not rate hikes. If you're looking for the continued parabolic nature, because that could give substance to the dollar for a minute. But I'm very much watching cryptocurrency right now for a potential continuation up right now. It looks like to me that's what we're going to do. We still have these inverse patterns. We have so much liquidity over the top. It doesn't make sense to go down here. Even though I want it to go down so there's not more pain at the pump, it doesn't make sense to go down here as a whole, in my opinion. So then I have to tell myself, well, if it doesn't make sense to go down, what the hell is really going on? Are we going to go test those liquidity gaps? And even with algo, now that it's back inside this box, it gives it room to move up, even if it's bearish. And it looks like some of these are overblown to the downside. Like they just need a little bit of a wake up. Like look at how oversold some of these ended up getting. Well, now it's been a quick rise back up in the 4-hourly. Daily cleared back out to the middle. So I don't know. Is this going to be that reversal start, or is this the trap again? It's a hell of a question to ask everybody. We're getting a little bit of volume in, which is the one thing that makes me a little bit more intrigued. Let's see what XDC did here. Because XDC started up, and then it just dumped down. Still going to need to see more here. We're going to need to see more. But it could be the start of some kind of at least test up. Now, if it's not going like that and it goes like this, well, that's... I was aiming for more of a descending setup, but if that's the way it wants to play it, I mean, it's already set up now. If that wants to be the second hit, we were just projecting. That just happened to be how far it came back down. XLM's up 3.48% here. I mean, and you see volume. That's the thing. Like, there's volume coming in that candle. That's what you want to see. You want to see volume predict the movement. And there is a little bit of volume that came in on that candle. There's no doubt about it. Now, we're going to get a follow through here. I don't know. But it certainly seems like there's something might be building here this morning. Does that mean it's going to go straight up? I really don't know because we had such a big back test that it very well could. Now, Bitcoin's overbought still in the 4-hourly. So I'd obviously be very cautious here. There's definitely a lot of emotional movement here, that's for sure. So I asked, what does the audience think? We get a better understanding when I can see what retail's thinking. I think the tariff ruling is what I needed to change the macro outlook, and it's going to push out. No, this isn't going to change the macro. This will just fill in the micro. The macro's never changed. It's super bullish. It's the micro that we need to see where it comes for the takeoff point. Mr. Stock, good morning. And thanks for being in town zone for 6+ months with the XRP predictor. Bigfoot says, all I'm thinking is how the hell am I going to get down this mountainside without being seen? I mean, that's a hell of a question, Bigfoot. I don't know. I wish I could offer you advice on that. But that's going to be a very interesting, you're going to have to create an anomaly effect. You're going to have to have some kind of I don't know. I guess you're going to have an avalanche. Just fall with the avalanche. Act like you're just a big snowball rolling down the hill. Z-Back, come take flight with Z-Back. Parrot on SOL Pump Fund Top Meme of 2026. No, XDC doesn't suck. There's just no volume. That doesn't mean it sucks. It means the cheaper it gets, the more you need to pay attention to it for real. You can't, I'm not going to say it sucks. It's got way too much going on for it. But at the same time, when you're growing, the bigger players, it is what it is. But I mean, I'm looking at IOTA too. Look at IOTA. IOTA's definitely shot out of this kind of a consolidation, which is good news for the rest of the market, honestly. If this is the case, if it's a front runner, because you've got some that are at lower levels, and if this does end up doing what an IOTA did, you're talking about where they're coming up to the 200 day to get rejected or to try to reverse the pattern. If you look at these 200 days, that would be a pretty intriguing reversal for the entire market if that's what's happening. If we're going to come up and test the 200, XRP would be all the way up here at $1.60 at least. That puts us on top of a major resistance area. XLM would be up at, it's already hit it once, but if they come back up there, that's 18 cents. I mean, there's some over the top. I know XDC would be one that would benefit greatly from this, because as much as we want to bag on XDC, there's one thing it's still in the midst of that all the other ones kind of already shot their wad. It's still in that B to C wave. It's an extended B wave, which means the farther the push, if it doesn't break down, obviously, this could turn into a higher the space kind of thing now that it's pushing over, because it's taken a long time here. It's taken a long time, but you'd at least expect to get a small push. But with that extension out, as long as it doesn't break down, I would almost say maybe now it's opened up the door to maybe something a little more extreme. Like it really is going to fill out this resistance push, and it's going to end up way up here just because of how long it took to consolidate. They just all worry me in that daily time frame a little bit still, unless they're going to come back and pull forward. So I said you got to be cautiously optimistic at these moments. And we try to see where they could go. And if they're coming up to the 200 days, which it would make sense. The fact they didn't break down already, and this pattern has been going on for just seemingly a very lengthy amount of time, and now it's breaking out past this little, whatever you want to call this. But it definitely is starting to break out. And it's not just one chart. I mean, I'm seeing this across the freaking board. And then it's Friday, so, I think it could be the same as last weekend. Remember the nice move up on Friday into Saturday, and then all of a sudden Sunday and Monday it dropped it back down? We could get one of those kind of liquidity pushes. This is our last weekend before XRP dumps tokens as well. There's only 28 days in February, I believe. So Half the supply is on the market and 0.036. Something is fishy. I know, Marco. Something's weird. Something's going on. It's either they're setting up for a massive expansion or that all-time inverse head and shoulders is going to break down and we're going to reset this entire freaking pattern. And we would find ourselves somewhere at 2-2. So I'm willing to bet, though, that this is a B wave up to C, but seeing that the rest of the market gave us that already, fuck. I'd be stunned if it doesn't at least get some topside liquidity. But at the same time, if this builds any farther, there's a huge flag that could be forming. So that's why I think it's probably more imminent a move up for XDC. Just unless this whole market is faking us out right now and in the next hour or two, because it's Friday. And what do we do a lot of times on Friday, we've noticed? We'll get the mental feeling up for all of retail because Friday's payday for most. So the whole day they're watching the market go parabolic as it looks. And everybody's like, oh my God, I can't wait to get paid. I'm going to invest. And then just as soon as they're investing, the market seemingly is coming back down for retracement or whatever. We've had this occasion a lot. And we've talked about it. So, but I don't know. I don't know. All I know is we've definitely got a lot of downside room, but there is that topside liquidity that we've talked about that we could take out. And I would not be surprised if they take a moment like this to where the charts, we're in a strategically interesting spot with market sentiment way down, you know, with the bloodbath been on. So, Marco, you could say that for all crypto. You know, that's the problem. XRP, Ripple, they're using retail as exit liquidity. Not because it can't go up in price, but because when we have this mindset of, I'm going to hold on forever no matter what, and they're dumping out of escrow, even if they lock up 700-800 million, they're still putting 300 million out on, you know, so you could say that about anybody. I could say that about any kind of digital blockchain. It's digital. There's nothing there. Nothing validates it anyhow. Nobody can tell me that there's a reason to have 100 billion XRP tokens, billions of tokens that were manifested by a physical block. Quantum computers right now are taking aim at this and creating fake crypto. It's happening all over the world and the government's at the forefront. It's time we all wake up. Also, what about the proclamation here that's going on across the world and the fact that Trump now, we're so much closer to Project Bluebeam than I thought we were going to be early in 2026, and you have to look it up because I can't speak too much of it or else they're going to take this piece of content down. But he talked today. They're going to disclose the stuff about aliens and UAPs and all this stuff they have. Yeah, it's all out there in the forefront. So something bigger, some grand catastrophe is coming. I can almost guarantee it. You can't guarantee anything in life, but I can almost guarantee some global effective, and I don't necessarily think it's going to be pandemic this time, but something globally is about to take place. And they had to bring out the alien playbook now. Once you get to the alien playbook, everything else has been exhausted. Notice how all of these famous people are suddenly dying. They have these illnesses that they seemingly fine, and then all of a sudden they tell you how they've been battling it for years, or how they slip and hang themselves on a doorknob randomly in the same way every single person. Have you ever noticed how funny that is? Or how strange it is that all these actors that are 6 feet tall are hanging themselves on it. Go try to hang yourself from your doorknob with a tie or a belt. Good luck. My door would probably break off. One, I'm too big, and that force pulling, it's not going to work. You know, so they're levitating in midair while strangling themselves, if you want to just talk grand conspiracy. So once that the playbook's going through, and it's not working, you can only distract the people for so long. See, when you feed the public on the narrative and information about all the celebrities, you got to keep, it's like taking a hit of crack. The first time might only be so much, but by the time you get through, you got to do 10 times more to get that same feeling. It's the same thing with the inertia of the social media. You've got to go more and more extreme, more and more extreme. And now we're into a spot where AI is starting to teeter the headlines. And how many videos do you watch now that you don't even realize are AI? It's getting quite clever. You know, and people are running with factual stuff that AI created now, which is interesting. So we have to be very careful where we're at right now in digital. There's no doubt about it. We're at a weird spot, and not just cryptocurrency, but we're at a weird time in the world because a lot of the US dollars are being dumped globally, and that only means that we have to do something to create that dependence. Or at least pull the wool over the USA's eyes. It happens every time. That's why I'm a little nervous about what's happening. Something, I don't know, something is, I can't help but think gold, silver is trying to tell us something. I can't help that it's trying to tell us something with the expansion it's had over the last but I'm not convinced. I mean, it just seems like on Friday we have these same tactics that are used. Let's rise the price up real quick. Let's go up and down, left and right for most of the day, intrigue retail, and then 9 times out of 10 by the time we get to Saturday, we're lower than where we started on that push Friday. Last week was one of the 10 maybe where we started off lower and went higher, but then by Monday morning, remember what happened? All of a sudden Sunday came on and it was like the whole Friday, Saturday move and most of Sunday didn't even matter. It just kind of caved back down. So trust me, I'm watching this very closely like always. And that's exactly why I put out that video this morning outside of the 60-second short while I was working out. You know, because I know a lot of people don't have time for the live. So I wanted them to see and get it in their mind that $1.70 as well if we were able to hold on. Because that $1.38 is a big part of this. And now look, we came down. We made the double bottom. That's a show of strength here by the bulls, believe it or not. And now once we get on top of this, it's not a matter of if we have this continuation, we have to prove it though. In the 4-hourly, it looks red because it started off so down. But once you flip, I believe it's into the 2, you can see that's an actual reversal. And now we're trying to either get confirmation or, you know, a rejection here again, which would be a brutal rejection. The one thing that kind of sucks here is how much, the way it's set up, if we don't get a continuation candle here, this could be a brutal rejection going into the weekend. So let's just aim for the push up here because the way this candle is set up, it almost is a, I'm not gonna talk bearish because we're still in this candle, but that it's almost like we're trying to confirm if we don't get follow through volume, just a major bull trap there. We just need to get a little bit of continuation is all. If we get continuation, we can take that fear and put it to rest. All I want to do is be on the top side of here and ultimately get over that $1.46.5. Then we open up the door to $1.56. There's zero doubt about that. I don't know what's going on here. That's supposed to be up there, as you all know. That's how we came up with the measurement. Yeah, see? I don't know why when I look at it on the phone it does that, but it is quite, you got to pay attention to it ever since the update, big time. Get you in trouble if you don't. Tom is the most recent candle called engulfing or something else since it's bottom heavy. It's tough to say because of the way it's set up right now. This candle right here would have been more engulfing to the top side, but the way that this is happening, you often, if you look at candlesticks, we're looking at this candle very closely, even in the 15, because you don't want to see not a new high being made. And now if it ends up seeking down and it reverses this candle and starts to fill out that 15 to the bottom side, that could be a fake movement. Like you had this wick up and down and now you just kind of fill it in. Now you need follow through. The lack of follow through could send you right back down. But if you get follow through, you could confirm what started here. But there's a lot of pullback. A lot of times that either preludes a breakout deeper if you can get a volume push, or this is telling you there's just simply no pressure above this point. But I don't know. We can't say it yet. At least give it the benefit of the doubt for one 30-minute candle that it's not broken down. But this is definitely a very important candle. This one and the next one will be determining what we're going to do the rest of the day, if you're looking at it from a micro context. Edgar, welcome in. Edgar says we're going to $1.71. I could certainly see that right now. That's the big liquidity pocket. Maybe a stupid question, but what is the difference between XRP and CB XRP? Uh, is that Coinbase XRP? I don't know. I'm not on Coinbase. Um, I know that one of the exchanges started lending XRP. You can do like up to $100,000 and borrow against your XRP, which is pretty ridiculous, but you could. Something caught my ear a few days ago. Some guy said he's not worried too much about quantum computing attacking crypto because we will have quantum. Oh, yeah, that'll work out well when you have AI that can combat the quantum. Hey, if you think that's true, CJ2 Pilot, that's fine. And God bless you. But couldn't we just use the same argument? I'm not worried about my software being attacked or my info being attacked on my computer because I have a firewall. It doesn't work. For every security piece that's put out, there's a more integrated piece of computing that comes out. You think the quantum computer cares about a little bit of a deflected inner tactic? No, it can just rework it. Amen. God bless you if you want to go use it for a credit card. Your death will be your own. I'm just saying, hey, I watched them beat the shit out of this guy, but they're offering me a little bit of a reward to use their product. Like, no, thank you. Because I don't want to be the guy that gets beaten the shit out of the next time it happens. You know? No, I'm not. I understand CJ2 Pilot. Believe me. I understand. And I would like to believe that, but my biggest fear has always been the quantum computing with the AI integration. It's not necessarily the quantum computing, but once AI got smart enough to do its own thing, think about it. If AI wants to be self-sustaining, couldn't it, in theory, use quantum computing to mine its own virtual blocks to sell to make some kind of artificial digital income so that it can move along the world in a digital way? It's so weird. We missed him. Oh, crap. Well, that sucks, Julie. We had stuff being delivered, and I guess because I'm in the other room, I didn't hear him knocking at the door, and Julie is doing teas milk. So we missed somebody at the door. Whoops. Starting to have a routine of that. Um no, no, yeah, CJ2 Pilot. That's why I'm giving you my thoughts very bluntly. I'm not trying to be a dick. It's just I don't know, I have a hard time believing that we can't even protect ourselves from like security breaches when we're searching online. And I don't know. I don't know. I think it's meant to in the end have some chaotic overtaking to where the public doesn't succeed through it. Um, how do you loan XRP on Coinbase? I don't know if it was Coinbase. Let me see which one it was. Might have been Binance. I put it on my Facebook. I don't like to talk about that stuff a lot on my YouTube. Where the hell is this at? I thought it was in the last couple of days. Maybe it was yesterday. Maybe I already passed it. Might have been yesterday. I don't know. I put so much shit on here. I can't keep up. Yeah, Coinbase up to $100,000 collateral for USDC loans and US leverage. Because you can, I don't know how to do it because I don't have Coinbase. Um, but I knew I seen it. I thought it was Coinbase. You can borrow up against $100,000 of your XRP. Um, so I mean, I technically wouldn't do that. I mean, I don't know. Do you really want take out a loan against your prized possessions? But, I can't tell nobody what to do. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an asset manager. So, I can only share my thoughts. I'm very intrigued by XDC, though, to be honest with you. Only because it stayed above that support structure perfectly. And it still hasn't filled out this wave count, in my opinion. I guess we'd have to go to the chart down here. Even against XRP, it looks like it wants to make a move. But we haven't finished this count yet. And it extended out, but I mean, it started here and it's extended through. So, I mean, there's no way of knowing how long it would take. And it doesn't even need to come all the way up there. That was just the technical movement from down there. It could even be higher, though, because if you actually do it from a breakout point like here, I think I like this better. But, I mean, you can just see how this would more than likely play out if this expands out. And yeah, is there any evidence that XDC is going to do this? It doesn't seem like it in the chart. But at some point at double bottom there, now you're going to have to come up and actually prove that this pattern is bearish. And that might push you all the way up there by virtue. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, we're so exhausted in some ways just to push farther down. Kind of seems like we might have to push up first. It's interesting. Like, it really is to me. Especially with something like XDC. I mean, imagine it starts to get outside of that consolidation and then we start pushing up into the higher areas. Oh boy. You know, so I don't necessarily like the pattern it formed on the one. But if you look at it this way, it technically is still part of the breakout of the descending wedge right now. Now it's back testing a much larger part of this pattern. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways you can look at this to try to fill it out. But I mean, I know, right, Gatman? They do everything. Oh, yeah. Imagine if something happened, unfortunately, like you did happen to pass away. How are you going to get your stuff back? They're going to say, oh, we need the borrower to sign. Well, my husband died. Too bad. Now it's ours. Like, think about if you were a big fish and then they seeked you out. You guys don't think it happens, but it happens more than we'd like to admit. That's why sometimes it's nice to be a smaller fish in the sea. You don't draw as much attention by the bigger players who want you not to succeed. But anyhow, I'm just calling this for what it is. Unless we break down the support structure, we've got an opportunity here. I may not have the hat on, but one could argue I could. It's so volatile right now. You still got to be very careful that this is not a trap this morning. I'm going to tell you again, I don't like the way that candle looks as of right now. That's just me talk. We're just having a conversation. Me and you are just having a conversation. It can prove me wrong, and I hope it does, because if it does, we're going to go on a little bit of a ride on Bitcoin. More than likely up to that 70K area again. But until it proves me wrong, and all it's got to do to prove me wrong, my bad feeling, because it's not even a gut feeling, because it seems to me like it should break up. So it's not even prove me wrong. I want it to prove that gut feeling that we could have had some kind of reversal here. Because we do have a nice inverse pattern. Like, we can fight with ourselves all we want. Shoulder, double bottom head, shoulder. I mean, that's a perfect inverse head and shoulder. A volume spike here in the smaller time frame. Even on the consolidation. No. And nobody's going to bite it. You know, no one's going to bite it. No one's going to be like, in retail is going to look at this and go, oh, this is bullish. That's the point. We're at a point right now where no one's even probably paying attention to a reversal. They're looking at it going, oh, nope, it's going to break down. And I'm the same way. Prove it. That's why I said prove it. Prove that this is nothing more than some kind of cynical trap. That makes it look like a can't miss opportunity, and then it just breaks down in 7 minutes. So I said, just prove it. Prove to me that we're going to go up. It doesn't take much. Get Bitcoin up to like 68K and we'll start talking. Otherwise, they can shove it up their ass, is the kind of thinking I have. You know, if that's mean, it's mean, but the market's got to prove it to me at this point. Right now, we're just up to the rejection area. XRP, until it gets past $1.45, is still in the liquidity box, which is dangerous. This could just be the double top from that break up, break down, push up, back down. Ooh, Mrs. Stock, good eye. I didn't have it up on that part of the chart. USDT dominance is going, back up to 8.02. We'll see if this continues up. It was down to 7.94, but now it's slightly above that support structure. And we know we broke out of what looked like a little bit of a forming descending. It looks like a wedge here was starting to form. I mean, just the breakout from here would get you back up, maybe a double top even, but this is the outlier right now. If this continues out, although, ooh, wait a minute, I didn't even really pay attention to that. We're starting to form a secondary pattern here. Let's see. I mean, it's actually formed a couple of, depending on how big and small you want to go into the micro. But it's almost like started a channel here as well on these wicks. Very defined channel at that. Hold on. Now, if we use this, let's get rid of, fuck it. Let's get rid of these. We got to get rid of some noise here. That's pretty defined what it's doing. It's almost broadening a little bit. A rising, broadening. If that's a rising, broadening, let's start from here. We're going to start from where the breakout was. I think this can give us a little better information. I don't even know if it makes sense for anybody who's watching if they know why I did that. But we broke out of the wedge, descending wedge. So now we formed a resistance base, support base, resistance, and it's kind of expanding a little bit. And you don't want to measure it from here. These are just wicks over the top. But I mean, it's honoring this setup right now, which means if it's honoring this and it comes back up, which this is bearish right now, unless this is a complete reversal in the 4-hourly, but there's so much time to go. This would be a standard rejection point coming right here. That's a bearish, that's not a good candle. Now you're looking for a confirmation. It's a 2 candlestick confirmation. So reversal, confirmation, can't get back over the top. And then the third candle would break under the support. Could be a 3 candlestick reversal to confirm this, honestly. So that's why it's a big moment right now. But it's definitely forced this almost expanding channel. Expandable, rising, broadening channel at that. I think that's a fair assessment, unless you want to go over the top and say, well, you know, we could pull this down from over here and we could go all the way over to the side, which is true. You're taking more of a macro view and forcing it in, but then you lose some of the dynamic. You just end up being kind of like in this sideways consolidation. You lose the integrity. You know, you just have to, you kind of form it a different way. This is why technical analysis, it all depends on what your time frame is. What are you looking at? Because we could start to draw that out and you could see from a wider base, even if you came down like that, which would make more sense in this scenario, and it would look like that. So, I mean, maybe for what we're looking at, could that be more accurate in USDT? It could, especially because it formed that flat support, which honestly, if you're looking at it like that, the fact that it's over the top is almost a miracle because that could have been a bearish reversal pattern. So let's get rid of this and just look at it like that then. But I still like the pink because of where it hit in those zones. But if we're trying to make a, you know, a apples to apples, we start here. And then you start to see it's kind of a similar setup, except one's wider. And you're starting to see that same kind of setup happening. So as of right now, the way it's breaking out, it's got a chance to break bullish. Otherwise, if it breaks down, it's going to try to back test here. And this was not technically, it's a neutral continuation, I suppose. The volume was breaking down on the drop, which meant that this was a recipe for a reversal. Even though it's a neutral continuation, the volume was up. And then on consolidation, it was breaking down, which is a good sign for a continuation up, at least initially. And now we look for the breakout candle, whether it back tests and then breaks out and gives us a little bit of more positivity. But the USDT dominance, which, you know, a lot of people always leave for whatever reason when I talk about the dominance chart, that's your direct correlation to how much money is going into crypto and how much money is on the sidelines and stable, and like a stable coin. It'd be the same thing as how much are retail spending versus how much is in their savings account. So right now there's a lot more money going into the savings account in crypto and sitting on the sidelines, at least by the ones who weren't having that size. So a lot of stuff going on. Like I said, I don't know. We're going to have to let this market prove it to us, because right now we've seen this far too often. It gives you that little glimmer of hope on a Friday, and then all of a sudden, by the time paychecks come out, everybody's down 7 to 10% after a beautiful 5 to 7% reversal in the morning. So I like to be cautiously optimistic at this point. But yeah, if you appreciate this work, or if you're trying to learn a little bit deeper, I highly encourage you to look at the video description below and our pinned comments in this very live, and consider taking the classes. So much information in there, just so much information, so much outside of just going into a chart, which we'll eventually get to. But there's been 6 classes. There's about 8 hours of learning that you can do right now. You don't have to be in them live. It's a building database. I teach through Zoom, but you get the info through YouTube. You don't have to pay for the Zoom monthly memberships. It's all here on YouTube. I found a way to be able to teach through Zoom and have you see it all like from a professional setting as a teaching and a virtual teaching setup. And it's not what you're used to on YouTube. I can promise you that. So I would encourage you guys to level up a bit. If you want to, for any reason, support what I do in my independent venture, to be here as much as possible instead of taking, a job with Charles. Well, that was an interesting job offer that I still mull over every day. So if you want to support my independent venture, please consider learning from a finer level, especially if you've made a little bit off of what I do. It's a small token of appreciation, but it goes a long way for what I'm trying to accomplish here in the long term. Believe me. Down like 6% on members of Tom's Army this month, which it happens. We're in a bearish cycle. The one thing that was kind of a kick in the nuts was somebody who was a part of Tom's Army for like 6 months disputed it and put in they said I scammed them basically. So I lost 6 months worth of somebody being in Tom's Army. So that came out of my pay yesterday, which kind of sucked. So I lost about $80 because of that. So what would have been like $120 something day was like a $37 day on YouTube. Which I didn't even know people could do that on YouTube. I thought I had more security than that. But apparently this person, because it was within a certain time frame, they were able to get them to reverse the fees. And if you do it on a credit card and they reverse it, guess who they take it from? YouTube, they're going to take it back. So that was kind of an interesting dynamic. Anyhow, CJ2 Pilot, guess we're not going to trade the gaps anymore. Yeah, I know. That's what sucks, doesn't it? I seen that yesterday too, that the CME group, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, is going to do 24/7 trading. You think too many people are getting good at gap trading? Just an honest question. Do you think that was because too many people were starting to take advantage of gaps? Because that is very interesting that that's going to end, and that's at the end of May. So doesn't give a lot of time. That's before the summer months. So it's that's very, very interesting indeed. That's going to take a whole layer of our gameplay out. That's for sure. You won't have any more of these. Like, look, it's one of our optimistic viewpoints here as well. We have a CME, and if we're going to do an A, B, C, D, E, it would make sense to go up there. But once that goes up to there, I mean, if we make a play, we can base that off of this potential because of the CME gap. We can base it off of that. So, and that can give us an overall setting. XRP in the 4 hourly, this is an engulfing candle to the top side as of right now. It's doing a great job. Yes, it's pulled down and you want to maintain this integrity, but right now we're testing the recent high breakout. So we rejected, came down, rejected. All of a sudden this candle went up and now we're back testing the breakout. And because it was pushed so high up, we've given ourselves some credibility because we came down, created a new low, formed a nice little Gartley reversal, and we're structural integrity if we can hold it. These are very dangerous candles though, because you can see, as you break this out, this could be a fake out. That's why these are dangerous. And that's why you want to be above this at the end of the candle. I've said it's got to prove it to me. No matter how it looks, I'm going to always look at it as being a fake out until it proves it to me when we're in this part of a bearish cycle. Doesn't mean that I'm not optimistic in any ways. It just means I'm proving, the market needs to prove to me that this isn't a fake out 4 hourly. So when we get to 2 o'clock, we'll know, or 1 o'clock, we'll know more. Yeah, Mrs. Stott, that's what we talk about with the CME when we talk about the gaps on Friday. How sometimes when it closes on Friday, remember how it was at $1.41 and it went through the whole week? And even though we got up to $1.70, it went back to the CME that was from a couple weeks earlier and ended up filling it. Just like we have that $1.70 gap. Now, even though it's been weeks, this only means one thing. If we can't get up there and fill it now, it's a confirmation of a bear market continuation, as you learned a little bit in class with the separation of different kinds of CMEs, which this would be a great reason why to join the class. This would be a great way to show you something that you could have learned and that you could learn if you're in the classes, or if you just get the ability to watch the live classes. So if you were in the, oh, wait a minute, I did it after. I'm sorry. This was something I did after class. My bad. So if you were in the class, it's just something that's available for all of you. And we went through the differences of CME gaps. How many of you even know that there's different types of CMEs? Like there's, and I'm not going to show you all this. You have to get the live classes, but there are different kind of gaps. You have a common gap, which is filled within days. It signals a minor weekend correction and has a quick reversal as expected. If it's a breakaway gap, which is all CME gaps, it may not fill for a long time. Start of a major bull or bear market, strong momentum and trend continuation. So that's why I look at that $1.70 as a possible breakaway gap. If we can't fill it in this, if it doesn't turn into an A, B, C, D, E, it's going to end up being a breakaway gap. And that's going to mean we have a continuation of a strong downtrend, which is going to be, that could have been, in fact, you know, it's just a continuation. And then if we can overtake it, it could end up being in the, there's so many ways to look at this. But we need some kind of gap that exhausts this pattern if we're going to do it. But so much stuff to learn in those classes. There's over 8 hours available to you if you just join now. You don't even have to go into live classes. It's a building database. There's 6 classes. Like I said, some of them are an hour and a half, some of them are an hour and 15. They're only supposed to be an hour, but we do dedicated stuff after. So consider that. If you really want to learn this deeper, you need to learn this deeper. And I just don't simply have enough time. I give a lot of time now. I've been doing this since March 24th of 2021, and we've been here every day. But if you want to go deeper, if you want to take a journey, if you, like I said, if you've made significant gains, pay it forward, and that would be a great way to do it. Look, bet on yourself and myself as well. Yeah, I know you said that. I didn't even know. I couldn't hear it from in here. They didn't tell you they were coming, did they? 15-minute, I mean, the 15 doesn't look great. That's what we were talking about before. Let's see if we get validation or confirmation to the downside. And right now, you know, with 57 seconds left, this is going to, if this comes down a little bit farther, it's going to fully engulf that candle to the downside and start more bearish. And then it's going to end up coming down and trying to retest 141, which that's only if it breaks down the 200 day here. So we're going to see, this could still be a hold candle. It's going to take more confirmation in the next couple of smaller candles too. Oh yeah. Don't just listen, Mrs. Stott. I would recommend you open that up and you look at the visuals too. That'll help you a lot, especially with the gaps, because you'll start to embroider it in your mind. NDQ gap down this morning and then filled it in full plus some. Tell me that Bitcoin was going to push this. Yep. That's a good observation. We had a quick push up here, not just the NASDAQ, the Dow, and everything else. And now we're kind of stuck. Could be a reversal in the smaller time frame. It went up to 49,710. I mean, the other thing here is this building a right shoulder as well? Like, that's the other thing. Like, shoulder, head, shoulder on a right shoulder. That would be brutal if it doesn't pass this head point. I'm just saying. That came up perfectly to retest and fill that gap that was up here. You went up, down, it started here, up, came through it. Right here, it back tested this gap that was left right here on the 20th or the 11th. And now you're building, is this a bearish consolidation? Is this going to be bullish? I mean, it's overextending itself very quickly in the smaller time frames. But, you know, that's why you have to see is 50K now the new wall in the stock market. That's what you have to see. Who knows? You know, it's funny because everybody's like, look at the stock market. It's up 14. Look at everybody gets excited about this. I always find it funny. The stock market was at $76 in 1900. Yeah, but the US dollar's value of what we had in our own currency. And like over here, they'll be like, it was only at $110 or it was only at $800 in 1970. Yeah, but the purchasing power isn't even the whole point of the stock market going up is so the rich guy, the guy who has the inside knowledge, buys the ETFs of the Dow, NASDAQ, Russell, whatever they're mostly the Dow they'll do or the NASDAQ. And they can stay up with the rate of return without having to do any kind of hard thinking. It's common knowledge. The stock market is essentially just trying to keep your rate of return. But eventually what happens with the stock market and everything else is it goes down 75% real quick. And yeah, it might recover, but everybody who bought in as a rate of return to keep up, they just lost all that purchasing power in the big flush. That's why I hate the FANG stocks. Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix. Did I say Alphabet? But it's Facebook, Alphabet, Amazon, Netflix. Well, Google is Alphabet, technically. So what's the other one that they do? I know it's Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, or something else now. But I know Alphabet's one of them, but I guess that would be Google. But no, Facebook, Alphabet. So what the hell was the G? What is the G nowadays? I don't even know. It used to be Google, but now it's all Alphabet. Oh yeah, Microsoft's part of them, but that's not technically an N. Oh yeah, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google. Thank you so much. Duh, Facebook, Apple, because they do the FAANG. Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google. It used to be a little bit different, but that's the Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google. Yeah, that's the 5 FANG stocks. Microsoft is a big one, but that's not technically part of the FANG stocks. That's just part of a general portfolio that a financial advisor, if you want to add on, they'll always start out with trying to represent the FANG stocks. I learned that a long time ago. I don't remember who told me. Maybe Peter Schiff said it just because he says stuff like that. Would have been like, if you want to invest in the FANG stocks, why would you get a financial advisor? You can just do it yourself kind of thing. And I'm like, wait a minute, the FANG stocks. And then I called my dad one day. I'm like, Dad, what are your portfolios? He's like, oh, I got Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Google, Netflix. And then he would talk about all those other ones. I'm like, so you have the FANG stocks? Here, pay me to be your financial advisor. I can give you the FANG stocks. Jesus Lord. Anyhow, I digress. So what's everybody's overall opinion now of the market now that it's been apparently 53 minutes we've been rambling on? Incredible. Yes, thank you, John. Apple, I really appreciate that, my friend. Greatly appreciate that. Mrs. Stott is right, though. Microsoft is virtually in every single portfolio from a financial advisor. Zero question about that. And for decades, they've been great performers. It's just during those decades, you have to look at the inner workings. Some years, the only reason you're doing good is because you were able to hold on for 10 years, and then it ends up appreciating, and you sit through the turmoil. But you know, with every robust breakdown, you get a break away from the sector. So a lot of them disappear. So the bigger companies absorb them. So even a momentary downturn ends up being a great gain later. You just have to have a vision. But it should be your own vision. You want to push your own vision too. It's nice to have your own vision. I still feel like gold, silver is trying to tell us something. Because if we're on a bona fide return rally, This is a breakout on platinum just in the short. I mean, it broke to the top side. If it's really going to come up here and create this top shoulder, this is where you would get this return rally in platinum. And it makes sense because look how this measures across. You could build a perfect right shoulder if it comes to 2480. That means there's about 300 bucks. That means on something like this, it got back over the top side, and it's very dangerous. I promise you this would be dangerous. But at some point, if platinum goes up like that, you very well could have a massive retest where this retests the breakdown. Maybe not all the way up there, but at least a push to the 200 at 252, which, I mean, it's not the biggest push in the world. But if you're going to get a breakup like that, you know, that could be a 10%, 11% return in a short time frame. It could be bigger, too, if this reverses, you know, in a quicker fashion. Because this almost, if you look at this, not even almost, it kind of looks like it set up something very interesting here. When you look at it in this, you know, in this regard. Kind of see like it might have put in a nice reversal here to test some of that upward liquidity here on the fly. And now because it got up over that, this was just our self-proclaimed resistance area. If it got over, then it could have a volatile spike. So, I mean, it's had a big pull down here. Big. Remember that big push up and then the pull down after, which was incredible. Even right now, it's down 43%. It had about a 48% downturn. Now it's at about 43. How's the 4-hourly look? I'm assuming it's going to... Okay, it's got itself in a rather overbought predicament in the 3-hourly. Death cross retest in the 4-hourly. Just be careful there. It's kind of one of those things. Risk reward, you got to base... You got to work on the risk reward because right now it's... The environment's tricky. Very, very tricky. Very, very tricky. Is that a Dragonfly Doji in the XRP 30-minute? It's kind of hard to call it that in a 30-minute time frame. But are you talking about right now? With the way this is? John? Because you're onto a pattern, but you might not necessarily be onto the right one, my friend. Because a dragonfly opens all the way at the top, and then you have a big wick down, and then it closes back at the top. That's a dragonfly. So you'd see in the 30-minute, it would fall out. Oh, it's different than yours on Binance. Oh, interesting. It was showing that on there? Well, that's interesting. See, this is what you would see a dragonfly, and that would be the pattern reversal. And it's going to be hard to get that in a 30-minute time frame. But if you look at it in a 4-hour, well, it's not hard in a 30-minute, but you'd want to see it more in a 4. You know, but this is the opposite. So it'd basically be you'd fall out from up here, and then the body would finish up here. So it would have a wick down and pull back up, would be the dragonfly. This gives us a, this is a scary. These scary. Those are scary. Now, if it finishes through, it'll be fine. But those scare us a little bit. And it's by design, because if you're going to have a quick reversal, this is going to have to reverse its fate. Because this doesn't even look like an inverted hammer just because of how far this pulled down. So then you start looking at, and this is what you can do. For that particular one, you start looking, and just in case it does go bearish, look for a bearish doji that represents, right? So it might not even be a bearish doji because you have shooting stars, you have other kind of things. So it doesn't really represent any of those, does it? Wait a minute. Or does it represent the gravestone doji, right? Could that be a gravestone? on this 4-hour candle. Could this be a gravestone doji? If so, this would be a bearish rejection. But if it can circumvent it by just getting out of the area and maintaining a closure there and not all the way back down. So, you know, this hasn't completely been bearish. This hasn't been validated yet. You can invalidate that structure by closing up here and having a continuation candle over the top that invalidates this particular candle. Not all candles get validation. You could argue that this reversed and this tried to break down, but if we get a closure over the top, that it invalidated this bearish attempt. And the bulls continue to stay in control. And in fact, it goes shoulder, head, shoulder, just in that dynamic, in the 3-hourly. 4-hourly, however, it's more to the top side. Now, in the 4-hourly, John, could that be a dragonfly? Absolutely. In the 4-hourly. That's why I showed you the difference between the two. And that would also represent an invalidation of the 3-hour candle where we've seen the other doji. So, as you look in the time frames, you have to start to weigh it against each other. Now, this could be, instead of a gravestone, a dragonfly. Possibly. Remember what we looked at before, the bearish ones? It's still not all the way to the top, so you have to be careful. But it did drag down. You got to close over the top. You know, it filled it through, engulfed. Now, if you can get confirmation, now, is that a 100% representation? No, but it looks like more of a doji reversal. How will the tariff news? I think that's all baked in. I think that doesn't have anything to do with it. I think they just announced it now. Think about this. They announce it now when the charts show that we should, in theory, retest that $1.70 level with no certainty, but in about a 70% probability, it should retest that area, assuming 138 was going to hold. And since it held volatility twice, it seems to speak to the fact that we should have some upward volatility. And then how perfect timing would it be once it goes up for that mimic move that the charts are showing us has the potential to happen? Then they come out and say, well, never mind, Trump can go along with his tariffs, and then the market drops again. Then they'll be like, oh, look at the pump and dump that was happened because of the tariffs. When I would argue the only reason the tariff news came out today is because the charts are showing that possibility of a little bit of a push up. And then how ironic would it be by Sunday or Monday, they come back and say, oh, nope. We brought this to a higher court, and now it's deemed he can do exactly what he wants, you know, so, or something worse comes out, and then they're going to blame that. So that's usually what happens. Yeah, don't forget to hit the like button. Less than 75%. Well, we're about 70%. That's better than normal. But yeah, I mean, that's basically what I got today. I love all of you. Have a blessed day. I always say it, if you want more time, you can always donate for my time too. And there's many different ways to see more of me. Even within a live, if I see a lot of pay it forward mentality, I will certainly stay on longer. But just due to the fact what happened today, I felt like I got kicked in the nuts. I'm going to call it a day today. And we'll see what happens later. If my son's doing good, I'll come